Hey, how's it going everybody? Welcome back to Aussie Fish Keeping. So in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at 5 cold tolerant fish that you can get for your aquarium. So obviously in the aquarium hobby, there's hundreds of different aquarium fish out there. Although most of them are tropical aquarium fish, which does mean they do like heated water and you need a heater in order to keep them. But as for these 5 fish on this list today, they are very cold tolerant, so they can go in very low temperatures in comparison to some of the other aquarium fish out there. Which means in warmer countries, just like Australia, you can keep them outdoors, you can keep them in an unheated aquarium. And yeah, they're just a very versatile aquarium fish. You can keep them in so many different styles of aquariums. But yeah, with that said, I guess without any further ado, let's just jump straight into today's video with the first fish on our list. So as for fish number 1 on our list today, we have one that I talk about a lot in all my videos. We have danios. So I'm mainly talking about, your zebra danios, but I do believe things like celestial pearl danios are actually very cold tolerant as well. But yeah, for today's video, like I said, I'm mainly just talking about your zebra danios, leopard danios, those sorts of danios. Now these guys are such a hardy aquarium fish. They're one of the best beginner fish in my opinion, just because they can go unheated, they can go in practically any water parameters and they will thrive. As well as that, they're relatively peaceful. I found that zebra danios can be a little bit nippy at times, but like I mentioned in some of my other videos, you can actually get long fin zebra danios or long fin leopard danios, and those longer fins actually slow them down a lot, which makes them a lot less nippy in my opinion. But because of that, you do need to make sure you're not keeping them with other nippy fish, just because obviously they're slower, so they can't get away as quick. So I've actually kept these guys outside before all year round, and they seem to do pretty well. And I live in southeast Queensland, so it can get pretty cold here. I'm not gonna lie, it doesn't get extremely cold, but it does get pretty cold for your fish, and these guys seem to do perfectly fine outdoors. They thrived all year round, like I mentioned. So yeah, they are just super hardy. As for water parameters, I'd recommend keeping them in a temperature anywhere between 18 to 24 degrees Celsius, which is about 65 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit, and a pH anywhere between 6.5 to 7.5. I do also find with these guys, they prefer a little bit of a higher pH. I'm not too sure why, to be honest, but I do find they definitely do better with a little bit of a higher pH, say around 7.5 to 8. Another great thing about these guys is that they're actually super active, and they're a great way to add a little bit of interest into your aquarium. So if you have like a slow planted aquarium with some slow fish in there, then these guys are great to add just to spice things up a little bit and make it a little bit more interesting. But yeah, with that being said, zebra danios are definitely one of the best cold tolerant aquarium fish that you can get for your aquarium. Moving on to the next species of fish on our list, we have probably one of the most well-known cold tolerant aquarium fish out there. We have Medaka. So I actually used to have a lot of Medaka. I kept them outdoors all year round. They did really well. But yeah, Medaka, like the zebra danios, in my opinion, are some of the greatest beginner fish as well. They're very peaceful, very hardy, can go in pretty much any water parameters. And yeah, they're just a super cool fish. As well as that, they don't need a big tank. So in say just like a regular 20 to 30 litre tank, you could probably fit anywhere between 3 to 5 of these guys pretty comfortably. You do want to make sure you have a lid on your aquarium though, just because they are top dwelling fish, which means if they get startled or if you have some other fish in your aquarium that are nipping at them, they can jump, and because there's no lid on your aquarium, they can just, jump on the floor, which you don't want. Although, in my opinion, I think if you're getting Medaka, you should probably keep them outdoors. I think they look so much better from like the top-down view. The side profile isn't really, great in my opinion. Just sort of looks like a regular fish. You can get some cool strains now in Australia. They're becoming a little bit more common, but yeah, I just recommend keeping them outdoors in a pond. Although, if you are keeping them outdoors, you want to make sure you have some sort of lid on there as well. So not only will it stop them from jumping out, but because they're outdoors and they're very colorful, things like birds, I don't know if anything else really eats them, but birds definitely would. And yeah, you want to try and avoid that just because you don't want your Medaka getting eaten. So one of the things that makes these guys super cold tolerant is I believe they actually come from Japan. And Japan, it snows there, so they obviously have to be cold tolerant. So yeah, as for water parameters for these guys, you can keep them in a temperature anywhere between 18 to 24 degrees Celsius, which is about 65 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. And a pH anywhere between 6.5 to 7.5. Again, with these guys, they do better in like sort of that moderate to high pH, so 7 to 7.5. And yeah, besides that, they're a very easy fish to care for, very peaceful as well, so they can go with practically any sort of aquarium fish. They can go with, your danios, they can go with tetras, cories, bristlenose. You could even probably get away with some cherry shrimp. just because these guys are top dwelling and the cherry shrimp are bottom dwelling, so they'll never really cross paths too much. But yeah, with that being said, as for another great cold tolerant aquarium fish, it's going to be Medaka. Moving on to the next cold tolerant aquarium fish on our list, we have another one of the most common cold water fish out there. We have white cloud minnows. So white clouds or white cloud mountain minnows are again another great beginner fish. All of these cold water fish are great beginner fish just because they are extremely hardy. And one of my favorite things about minnows is they actually don't need that much space whatsoever. Obviously, it's best to give them as much space as you can, but they aren't too fussy. They can definitely go in a nano style aquarium. But in my opinion, these are another one that are great to keep outdoors. So if you have a pond outside, these guys are super great. They can actually help with mosquito control. So obviously the mosquitoes have their larvae in the water, and those larvae make a perfect meal for the white clouds. And that can actually help a lot when it comes to saving money on feeding. Obviously, you are going to still need to feed your fish, but if you have your white clouds in a mature outdoor setup, then you won't need to feed them as often. And if you have them in a really good little ecosystem, then you'd probably only need to feed them about once to twice every week. As for water parameters for these guys, again, they can go in a temperature anywhere between 18 to 24 degrees Celsius and a pH anywhere between 6.5 to 8. So another thing you want to keep in mind with these guys is you don't want to keep them with any sort of aggressive fish at all. They're a very fragile and shy fish, I guess. And they're a very peaceful fish, so yeah, you don't want to be keeping them with anything that's going to chase them around or nip at them. But yeah, with that being said, white cloud minnows are definitely another great cold water, cold tolerant aquarium fish, and I would highly recommend them. Moving on to the next species of fish on our list, we have a super cool one in my opinion, and that's goldfish. So I think there is quite a few mixed opinions about goldfish. Some people think they're a great beginner fish. Some people think, they're a terrible beginner fish. But in my opinion, any aquarium fish is a great beginner fish as long as you're putting in the effort and care that they require to, thrive. So there's two main reasons people don't think goldfish are great beginner fish. Number one, lots of the goldfish that are sold as beginner fish, so like your comets, your shabumpkins, I think they're called, those varieties of goldfish typically do get quite large. They're more of a, wild type goldfish, so like a carp. But now you can get things like ranchu and short body arandas, all sorts of short body strains of goldfish, which actually don't get as large and they're a lot more manageable for a beginner fish. And then the other reason a lot of people don't think they make great beginner fish is because they do actually produce quite a bit of waste. But again, as long as you have relatively good filtration in your aquarium, you have a big enough aquarium, and you're not overfeeding them, then that shouldn't have any real major effect on your aquarium. So I've actually got a few goldfish. I keep them outside and they do so well out there. I do think goldfish are another great one to keep outside. I mean, you can definitely get away with keeping them indoors, but I find it's easier to keep a larger setup outdoors. And because goldfish do typically prefer a larger setup, they do better in ponds and things like that. As for water parameters for your goldfish, again, a temperature anywhere between 18 to 24 degrees Celsius, which is about 65 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit, and a pH anywhere between 7 to 8. These are another fish that definitely do need the cold water. I think some people do use heaters when they're trying to breed them. I've never really tried to breed goldfish at all, so I wouldn't really know anything about that. But one of my favorite things about goldfish is they're one of the greatest duckweed management little fish you can have. So, like I mentioned, I keep these guys outdoors, and whenever I get duckweed outbreaks in here, I just scoop out the duckweed and put it in their little setup, and they just eat it all. So yeah, they're super great for that. But with that being said, goldfish are another great cold-tolerant aquarium fish, and I would definitely recommend them. And then as for the final species of fish on our list, we actually have a group of fish, and that's barbs. So this is one I think a lot of people don't actually know about. Obviously, not all barbs are suitable to be kept cold water, but some of the main ones are things like rosy barbs. Cherry barbs are great for cold water. I've actually kept the cherry barbs outdoors as well, and they've done perfectly fine. They actually bred for me outdoors during the colder months as well. So in my experience, barbs do well outdoors, but I'd actually prefer to keep them indoors, just in an unheated aquarium. Obviously, it does stay a little bit warmer indoors than outdoors, so the main reason being is because barbs are just good to look at from the side, I guess. They're not a great top view fish. I mean, you see these cherry barbs here, they're absolutely stunning from the side, and I don't really see the point keeping them in a pond. unless you want to grow them out or just colony breed them in a pond, which would be actually pretty cool. A great thing about barbs as well is they're such an easy fish to care for. Definitely one of the best beginner fish in my opinion. So one of the big reasons that barbs aren't really kept as beginner fish is because your main barbs like tiger barbs are actually pretty nippy. And because of that, I do think a lot of the other barbs get a bad rap. Like these cherry barbs never nipped any of my fish in there. I've actually got them with apistogrammas, and the pistos have like, you know, long flowing tails. And the cherry barbs don't bother them whatsoever. So yeah, it is true that some barbs, like the tiger barbs, will nip, but there definitely is a bunch of other barbs out there. As for water parameters for these guys, again, a temperature anywhere between 18 to 24 degrees Celsius, which is about 65 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit, and a pH anywhere between 6.5 to 7.5 should do. Something I would recommend if you are keeping barbs is definitely get a good male to female ratio. So in a good male to female ratio, the males are going to color up a lot better. You can't just get like 5 male cherry barbs and put them in your aquarium. They won't color up very good. The best sort of ratio is to keep them in like a ratio of 2 males to 3 females. That way your males will really stand out in your aquarium and will put on some absolutely beautiful vibrant colors. And then another thing you can do to help bring out the colors of these guys is keep them in a heavily planted aquarium. So in a heavily planted aquarium, it gives them somewhere to spawn. And usually when males are trying to breed or spawn with females, they will put on their best colors. But on top of that, the green really does contrast their red, and I mean, it makes it pop a lot more in my opinion. So yeah, with that being said, another great cold tolerant aquarium fish is definitely barbs. So that is actually going to bring us to the end of today's video. I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope this video helps a few of you guys out. If you did enjoy today's video, please make sure to go down and subscribe, and while you're down there, smash the like button and comment your thoughts on today's video. I always love going down there and reading them all, and I try to reply back to as many comments as I can. Also, if you haven't done so already, make sure to go check out my website, aussiefishkeeping.com. We just put some new plecos up on there, which are super cool. Something else I did actually want to say is I've got a few like different style videos coming out soon, you know, like vlogs and things like that. So stay tuned for those. They should be very fun. We've got a lot of projects going on in the fish room now. We should have some very cool videos coming out soon. But yeah, with that being said, I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all in that next video.